Good morning, Magic! I'm Gavin Verhey from Wizards of the Coast, and with Zendikar Rising we released 2 Commander decks. But why 2? And will other future Commander decks be like these? Let's dig in today. Commander can be a really complicated format, and so for a long time we thought it wasn't the right place for new players to land. But what we saw was more and more new players were coming into Magic through Commander, which just makes sense if you think about it. If your friends are playing Commander and you join up Magic, well, you want to play Commander too. So we wanted to have something that would be good for new players to pick up and play. Now the 4 or 5 decks we do every year are decent for this, but we thought we could do something even better and create something that would be very accessible for a brand new player while also having enough stuff for current players to get interested in it. The idea here was that we would replace our 2 Planeswalker decks with 2 Commander decks. Planeswalker decks are fun, but don't exactly lead into any kind of play experience. No one is playing Planeswalker deck constructed, where Commander decks lead you right into a play group. And although Commander is a lot more complicated than Planeswalker decks, because it's a multiplayer social game, it's pretty easy to have someone help you out with the ropes if you need to. They didn't need as many new cards to be exciting, because for players coming into the game, they're all new cards. Now we still wanted a few new cards. First of all, we definitely wanted to face Commander. This helps gives the deck identity and lets us blow out the themes from the main set. The other 2 cards both help amplify those themes and are things that current players are really excited to grab as well. I've also heard a lot of feedback from all of you about just how many new cards we're making for Commander, and keeping only 3 in each of these decks helps make that number a little more manageable. But besides just the number of new cards, there's a very fundamental design change in how we made these decks. When we create a yearly Commander product, like say Commander 2020, we do a lot of testing of what we call the biodome. This is all 4 or 5 decks being played against each other to make sure that they're well balanced. There's plenty of people out there who want to play these decks against each other, who pick them up off the shelf and play them against one another almost like a board game experience. And that's great. And I want to let all of you know that these larger Commander releases that have a biodome and more decks aren't going away. We're still planning on doing those for the time being in the future. These other 2 decks, on the other hand, are not playtested in a biodome. I mean, yes, we playtested them a lot against, say, the Commander 2020 decks, or actually the upcoming Commander Legends decks, among other things, but they weren't built with kind of the overall biodome experience in mind. They were just meant to be individual cool Commander decks you could pick up and play in a local game. And with future 2, or 1, or 3, whatever we decide to do, Commander deck releases, I expect there'll be decks that people will pick up and join other playgroups with. And especially if you're a brand new player, that's a great way to get into playing Commander. And of course, at the end of the day, use all the decks however you want to use them. I mean, biodome decks are taken to go play in individual Commander games all the time, and I'm sure some people will try playing a Zendikar Rising Commander Legends mashup of all 4 decks. Well, speaking of Commander Legends, what can we expect out of those 2 decks? Well, they're really cut from a similar cloth to the Zendikar Rising ones. For example, 3 new cards per deck. So if you're enjoying the Zendikar Rising ones, the Commander Legends ones have a similar feel, although the themes are quite different. So the big question, can you expect more Commander decks like the Zendikar Rising ones and the Commander Legends ones in the future? I personally am really hopeful for these decks. I think they're going to do a great job bringing new players into the game and also being attractive to current players. But ultimately, we're just going to have to see. And if they do really well, we could continue them long term. And if they don't, well, then maybe it wasn't the right play after all. A huge point of data for us is going to be your feedback. So what do you think about these new kind of Commander decks? Like them, dislike them? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll bring it back to everyone in game design. I'll talk with you again on Wednesday. And in the meantime, may you enjoy everything Zendikar Commander has to offer. You got this. And the base of this deck is no exception. You have cards like Cultivate and Rampant Growth that kick you off, and then things like Hunting Wilds and Vastwood Surge, which even have Kicker that you can double if Verazol's in play. You can also accelerate with cards like Elfhame Druid, a fun little Dominarian nod to help you kick your spells quicker. But of course, the real star of the show with this deck are the Kicker cards, and there are some sweet ones in here. The one that I want to copy the most? Rite of Replication.